Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to take a first look at the Warden class. I will make sure to talk about all the skills and also show them while doing so you actually kind of know what you're going to get with the Warden. Keep in mind, this is the private test server, so a lot of things like tooltip values or visuals still might change. Once Morrowind goes live, I will obviously keep covering the Morrowind content, so make sure to subscribe. Now let's get started. Let's take a look at the animal companions tree first. So we have the Feral Guardian Ultimate. What does this do? As you can see, you can summon a bear. And the Grizzly swipe deals 3k magic damage. Keep in mind, I am on a Magicka setup. So yes, technically you could get higher tooltip damage, but this kind of should give you a realistic damage tooltip. Now, you see, once summoned, you can activate Guardian's Wrath for 75 ultimate. Causes 14k magic damage and deals 10% additional damage to targets under 25%. The Grizzly's attack do an additional 12% damage. So when I want to summon the bear, looks pretty cool. And something very important to note, this you saw it took quite a while to actually summon the grizzly bear. Now there's two different morphs. We have the Eternal Guardian. This special effect of this morph is bear respawns when killed. So you don't have to summon it again, it basically immediately respawns. Whereas the Wild Guardian, the stamina morph, deals increased physical damage. So this one does slightly more physical damage and overall more damage than this one. But once the bear dies on this morph, you have to manually respawn it, like summon it. Here, it just automatically respawns. As you can see, I can let him attack if I want to use the ultimate. And I think they did a really well job with this grizzly bear. There is also some skins you actually can get for your bear, which is kind of cool. One other really important thing to note is you need to double bar the bear ultimate. If you don't, then this happens. The moment you weapon swap and you don't have it on both bars, it will despawn. Next thing, dive. So this is the Cliff Racer. Command the Cliff Racer and it deals X amount of magic damage. There is also two morphs. We have a stamina morph. Cost stamina and scales of weapon damage and max stamina. And then we have a Magicka morph, which deals 15% more damage. Showcase you how this looks. So the animation is pretty obvious, and currently the Cliff Racer is undodgeable. This is especially important because for PvP, simply you need to know whether you can dodge things or not. Now here the only really counter mechanic is you can block, but you cannot dodge all the Cliff Racer. Next one, we have those shulks. So as you can see, stir a group of shulks that attack after 3 seconds. So when I cast this, it takes 3 seconds to kinda activate the skill. Well, you can activate it and then it goes 3 seconds till you hit the target. That's actually a very important point because you can time really high burst on the Warden. Like when you use this and then time the Cliff Racer correctly, two things will hit at once. There's also two morphs. We have a Magicka morph. So this here stuns one enemy. And the stamina morph reduces the enemy's spell and physical resistance. So it gives Major Fracture and Major Breach, which is a very, very strong skill actually. So I do think this is a very, very strong skill, especially in PvP. The next thing we have is the swarm. So what happens here is unleash a swarm of fetcher flies that attack the enemy. It's a damage over time effect, so it doesn't do high initial damage, it just does small damage over time. There is also two different morphs. They are both Magicka. Now here, basically when ability ends, fetcher flies infect up to 6 new targets. And the other one, Fetcher Infection, casting a second time deals increased damage. I'll cast it twice and it will do more damage. We will see which morph is gonna get better, but yeah. Then we have the Badinage. There is 2 morphs of this. As you can see, it also takes quite a while to summon, although it says instant cast time, but it takes about half a second to a second to cast it. Maybe they will change this. So there is a blue Betty morph. I also like to call him Bellinage. This here focuses on the Magicka. As you can see, it doesn't have any cost. So the only thing you sacrifice is like casting the skill, but it doesn't cost any Magicka or stamina. So the blue Betty restores 3.5k Magicka over 22 seconds and gives you major sorcery, and also removes 1 negative effect. Whereas the Bullnage, the stamina morph, restores 3.5k stamina, and you gain major brutality and major sorcery. So you both gain weapon and spell damage. That's the thing, right? Just to showcase you the stamina one, it slightly looks a little bit greener than the blue Betty one. So I like you actually can see as an enemy player what kind of, like whether he's running stamina or Magicka return, so that's kind of cool. The Bullnage is not targetable, so enemies cannot kill the Bullnage. It works with Necropotence, so what you can do is you only need to have this on 1 bar and then you can weapon swap and the Netch will still be here, so you don't lose it, you don't need to double bar it. That's why it is very effective, especially in combination with Necropotence set, which gives you a lot of Magicka. The last skill in this skill tree, Falcon's Swiftness. What this does is, you can see, it's basically a buff skill. It gives you major expedition and major endurance, increasing movement speed by 30% for 10 seconds, and gives you Magicka stamina recovery for 20 seconds. There's 2 different morphs. Deceptive Predator, so you gain a 5% dodge chance, and Bird of Prey, which gives you minor berserk, 8% more damage. And I highly do recommend using this one because 8% extra damage is really strong. And it also looks pretty damn good. In terms of passive, let's get them to level 2 so they really reflect what they do. When one of your animal companions is killed or unsummoned, you're restored 1.2k health. Currently, every time you cast the Cliff Racer, this passive gets activated. So every time the Cliff Racer casts and it disappears, you get 1260 health points. I'm not sure if it has a cooldown. Savage Beast. Activating an animal companion ability grants 4 ultimate. It has an 8-second cooldown, but basically every time we activate the Bullnage, you will get ulti points, except for the 8-second cooldown, obviously. Let's check if it actually... Oh, we don't see the... Okay. Now, Flourish increases your Magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an animal companion ability is slotted. So that's pretty cool, actually. Now let's test one thing. As you see, when I weapon swap, my stats slightly change. Now let's try to use the bull netch and see if it still works on the other side. So we have 652 and 575. We cast it, weapon swap, and you drop it. So you need to have it active on your skill bar to benefit from this effect. Advanced species, increase your damage done for animal companion abilities by 2%. So the more animal companion abilities you have, the more damage they will do. So that can be especially powerful if you want to focus around your ultimate. That's basically it for the animal companion tree. Now let's move on to the green balance. Take out those skills. First off, the ultimate. Now this tree focuses on healing. So this is kind of where you have most damage abilities. This here is on healing, and this kind of focuses on tanking. But you can mix up everything. That's the beauty of Elder Scrolls Online. You kind of can do what you want, as long as you don't look out for min-maxing. So what does this do? It restores 6.8k health, and the forest continues to heal you and all allies in the area for 3.4k every 1 second over 6 seconds. So you get instant healing and healing over time. And it only costs 75 ultimates. That's really, really cheap. There's 2 morphs. Enchanted Forest, gain ultimate when healing low health allies. So if you heal an ally under 50%, you gain 20 ultimate points. That's so much. That's insane. And the healing thicket, healing continues after ability ends. So this lasts even longer. This is a really strong ability, like a really strong ultimate for only a cost of 75. Let me actually try to get some multi points in the meantime so I can show it off afterwards. Now we have fungal growth. See the large area of mushrooms that heal you and all allies in your frontal cone for 5.6k health. This is kind of your healer, but something very important, frontal cone. So you need to aim the heal. Now this morph affected targets gain stamina and magicka regeneration. And the other one costs stamina and allies near you are healed for more. So this is actually really nice. This is a kind of a new stamina heal. Stamina characters usually only have like Vigor and Rally and some other things, Blood Craze, but this is something completely new, which is really nice. Now we'll show off the enchanted growth. And you see the cone area, it's not that huge. So you really need to make sure to aim this. If you cast it like this, it will not heal a friend that is behind you. That's something kinda new because the other abilities don't really like require targeting. So I do like that. Now let's see the ultimate. You see the radius is huge. It's insane. And it's also something like the visuals are very strong and it's kind of hard to see through, so you even could use it to block the enemy's sight, kinda, especially in PvP. Then we have Healing Seed. Now summon a field of flowers which blooms after 6 seconds, healing you and allies in the area for 8,500k. Only one field may be active at the time. Now there's 2 morphs. This here ability can be activated for an instant heal, so you can use a synergy to get the instant heal. Or enemies in area receive less healing, which gives them major defile. It's also quite a huge radius. It looks like this. And all enemies that enter this area will automatically get major defile. Now this is, in my opinion, this is kinda strong because it applies major defile in such a huge radius. Living Vines. Grow vines to embrace you or the lowest health ally in front of you for 10 seconds. The wine heals the target for 1.7k health each time they take damage. So it's kind of a heal over time. Then we have the Leeching Wine's morph. Minor lifesteal is applied to attackers, so you return like 600 health every 1 second when you damage an enemy, working similar to Minor Magicka Steel. And Living Trellis heals when the effect ends. So you can see kind of the animation that it puts around you, which I think kind of looks cool. Lotus Flower. Embrace the Lotus Blessing, causing light attacks to restore 1.3k health and your heavy attacks to restore 4k health for 20 seconds. Now we have the Green Lotus. Gives you Major Savagery, increasing your weapon critical, or the Lotus Blossom. You gain Major Prophecy, increasing spell critical. So they both morphs cost Magicka, but this morph is aimed at stamina setups and this one at Magicka setups. That's how it looks like. I do think this is a very strong ability, because every time you do a light attack you gain quite a lot of health, or even heavy attacks. Like, it's just another really strong kindish heal over time effect. Then we have Nature's Grasp. Swing to targeted ally, healing them for 19k health over 10 seconds. So that's a really strong heal over time. Now here heals instantly instead of over time, but you see this heals for 19k and this heals for 7k. So it heals instantly, kind of similar to Breath of Life from Magicka Templar, but obviously the healing is completely different, like the values. And the other one also heals the caster, so you heal you and an ally. Now I can't activate this skill because I would need a friendly to actually target it, otherwise it won't go off. Let's take a look at the passives. Accelerate the growth. When healing you or an ally under 40% health with one of those abilities, gain Major Mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. So Major Mending is a really powerful buff, and it kind of got tuned down a little bit in Morrowind, which is a good thing, because healing was very strong in the past few updates. It's still pretty strong because in a lot of times people drop under 40% health, so I do think you will have a 30 to 50% uptime on Major Mending. Then we have Nature's Gift. When healing an ally with a green balance ability, gain 250 Magicka or 250 stamina. Restores your lowest resource pool. Now, this is kind of a cool idea for a passive. And I'm not sure if it doesn't have a cooldown, it's actually a really strong one. However, as you can see, it restores your lowest resource pool. So for me, like when I just have to block a little bit, I really lose stamina fast, right? So I drop really fast to 70 or 60%, whereas on Magicka it will take me a while. So on a Magicka setup, maybe you mostly get stamina back, and the other way around on a stamina setup. We will see in the future. Emerald Moss increases healing done for green balance abilities by 2% for each skill slotted. Then we have Maturation. When healing you or an ally, grants them minor toughness, which increases max health by 10% for 10 seconds. Now Major Toughness is the first time a class actually gets to use this buff, class specific. Other than that, you can find the same buff here, as you can see, and granting minor toughness, increasing your health by 10%. So it's a nice passive if you do not use Warhorn. If you use a Warhorn, it's not that useful, but it's nice to have. Because especially in PvP, you don't always use Warhorn, so that's really cool. There's Embrace skill tree, so we have the Sleet Storm ultimate. Now this is a very powerful ultimate, especially for PvP. It costs 200 ulti points, so it's quite a lot. And the duration is 8 seconds, radius 10 meters. So what does it do? All the enemies take 3.7k frost damage every 1 second for 8 seconds, and they have their movement speed reduced by 70%. On top of that, nearby allies gain major protection, reducing incoming damage by 30%. So those are very powerful debuffs and buffs. Now let's see, what do the morphs do? Northern Storm increases max magicka while slotted, so you gain 8% extra magicka. That's insane. The other morph, Permafrost, damaging nearby enemies will stun them. So that's something really cool. You see, they need to be damaged 3 times and then they get stunned. Just to show you off the ultimate how it looks like. Another thing, important thing to note is that the ultimate moves around with you. So I can activate it and it's running around with me. So you don't need to place it. And you see he got stunned. It's a very, very powerful ultimate, especially in PvP, because you get like all incoming damage is reduced by 30% and it slows the enemies down. It's insanely strong. Then we have Frost Cloak. So this is a very defensive kind of skill. It gives us Major Resolve and Major Ward, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 5.3k. Then we have Expensive Frost Cloak, reduced cost and larger radius. So the radius here is 28 meters and it costs 3.2k magicka, whereas this costs 4k and the radius is only 8 meters. So there's huge difference, 20 meters additional range on this morph. Now, Ice Fortress, what does it do? It casts against minor protection. So you reduce incoming damage by another 8%. So if you have this skill and the Sleet Storm ultimate active, you reduce incoming damage by 38%. That's insane. Let's take a look on how it looks. So it kind of looks frosty. I heard they are working on still working on the visuals, so that will not be the end result. I do still already think it kind of looks cool. Impaling Shards. Now this has actually, what does it do? So it hits enemies with icy shards, dealing 450 frost damage in the area every 1 second over 12 seconds, and reduces movement speed by 30%. Damage done is based on your health. So this is kind of aimed at tanks. Now we have Crippling Shards. This here, on cast, enemies in the area also become immobilized for 3 seconds. So it's kind of a automatic route when you use this ability. And then we have Winter's Revenge. So summons a targeted location instead of around you. Damage scales on max magic and spell damage. So you can see this here does 450 frost damage every second, and this here does 1.8k frost damage over 1 second. This is actually a very strong dot if you want to use it for a magical damage dealer. Now they kinda both look the same, but as you can see, this can be placed at the targeted location, whereas the other one just goes off around you. And I can place it really far away. So that's pretty cool. It has a huge range, 28 meters. If you're in Cyrodiil, it will even get further. And it holds for 12 seconds, and it snares. So you really can use that like to kind of slow down the movement of enemies from far away already, which is cool. The range might be a little bit over the top though. Maybe this should be 10 meters or something. Now, Arctic Wind. Envelope yourself in winter's winds, healing for 10% of max health and an additional 2 health every 2 seconds or 10 seconds. Again, this is kinda aimed for tanks. Now we have Polar Wind, heals a nearby ally as well. That's, I think, kinda strong, especially if you look at the really high health tank. Arctic Blast deals frost damage to nearby enemies instead. It's not a lot, but still kinda nice damage. And you see the radius is 8 meters, so it's not too bad. Let me see when Yeah, and it looks pretty cool. Crystallized shield. So it absorbs projectiles. Each projectile restores 580 magicka. Now the base morph is not that interesting, but let's see what the others do. Crystallized slab shoots projectiles at attackers. So this works kind of similar to the Dragonfire scales. And you see, on each successful absorption, a projectile is sent back to the enemy for 3.6k frost damage. Now, fire scales reflect the same ability here. You're probably just gonna get shoot back some frost, ice shard or something. Then Shimmering Shield, gain ultimate on successful absorbs. Now, this is the first time a class gets access to Major Heroism, increasing ultimate gain by 3 every 1.5 seconds. This basically almost doubles your ultimate generation, so it's a really strong morph, especially in PvP. You can gain ultimate very fast, and it looks cool. Then we have Frozen Gate. Summon an ancient portal. An enemy that runs over it is teleported to you and routed for 5 seconds. You only can have one portal active at a time. So we have Frozen Device. Enemy deals reduced damage, so you apply Major Maim, reducing their damage by 30% for 4 seconds. It's not that long, but still. Frozen Retreat grants allies in the area a synergy that moves them to you. So basically, this morph teleports an enemy to you, and this morph teleports a friendly to you. That's a difference, and it can be placed also really far away. It has really good visual indicators, so like the enemies can easily see it. And if an enemy see it, there's also a red circle around, so the visuals are really nice. Then we have the passives. Glacial Presence increases chance of applying Chilled to enemies with Winter's Embrace abilities by 200%. That's a lot. And there is already another passive and Destruction Stuff, which gives you another, I think, 100% or something. So it's really easy to apply Chilled. Frozen Armor increases your physical and spell resistance. Now obviously, like for each Winter's Embrace ability slotted, I have 6 years, so I get a lot. Icy Aura reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15%. I really like that. I do hope they will boost it a little bit to 30%, because 15% seems kind of low. Piercing Cold increases your physical and frost damage by 6%. Now this is nice, also helps stamina setups a little bit, and cold damage needs some kind of help with, because shock and fire is just usually superior in damage, so I really like this passive. Now one thing to note, as you can see, the only really stem morphs are in this section here. All others are basically magicka based, but that's just because on how the class is set up. Here we have kind of a tanky tree, and here the healing tree. And then damage abilities are stamina and magicka. Now, just a really short note, I do think like the Warden, especially in PvP, will be really strong. It will definitely not be overpowered. It will just learn, like it will take time to learn how to counteract the Warden correctly, and in general how to do damage on it and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I will make sure to do more videos on that kind of subject, so I can already present some prototype builds and what kind of setups you want to aim for. I also want to show the sustain on this class and what kind of damage it can pull off, tanking, healing and all that kind of things. So make sure to subscribe, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.